Greetings, audience. I'm Boomstick, and we're going to draft some shells. Let's talk about it. This is the Breaking Wind. It is a Spring Thunder shell compatible Springer with pseudo ejection. The Breaking Wind was designed by Nerf. You can actually pick up these files and hardware from his Etsy store. I'll make sure I have links down in the description below. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I love 3D printed blasters. And even more than that, I love shell ejecting 3D printed blasters. Most of all currently is the Spring Thunder. Now, having a pistol that accepts Spring Thunder shells, that was something that caught my attention. First, let's dive into the assembly process. I printed this blaster in 3D Solutech White and Filamentum Gold Happens. CR Nerf has an assembly guide available when you purchase the files, and they are okay. I was able to assemble it using their instructions. However, it could be a bit vague at times, so I had to do a little bit of guesstimating in certain portions. So if you've never assembled a 3D printed blaster before, I do not recommend it for your first one. However, if you've printed and assembled your own blasters, you should be able to figure out how everything goes together. The ejection process is using magnets, which were a bit finicky to work with, only because magnets can be like that sometimes, especially when you're trying to set them in place and the magnets are pulling against each other. So I highly recommend not doing what I did, which was trying to glue all of them at the same time, but instead gluing them in phases, so that way you only have to worry about setting one magnet at a time. I did end up using a Pro 25 spring that I did have to cut down just a little bit. Again, it was one of those things where you kind of have to figure out how much spring is going to work in a blaster like this comfortably. Because too much spring, it will be a bit of a tough prime, which I find mine to be just about where I need it to be. So as far as the ergonomics go, it is very compact, and I do like that about it, and it shouldn't be difficult to holster a blaster like this. However, the actual handle is a little wonky, mostly because it has to make space for the threaded rods and the plunger tube on the inside. Another thing I don't care for, and it's the same complaint that I had with the Mistress Key, which is threaded rods right where the T-pull is. Because if it doesn't catch and it slips, your hands are going to smack straight into those threaded rods. It's a similar complaint I have with the Mistress Key, and it's the same complaint I have here. It's not a deal breaker, it's just one of those things where it could be annoying and a little bit painful if it doesn't catch properly and your hands end up slamming into these threaded rods. I will say I highly recommend buying his hardware. I ended up sourcing my own hardware and bending my own springs and everything, so that could be some of my issues that I've had, one of which was the catch. I think my wire ended up being a little bit too thin, so I do not think that's a problem with their hardware. I think that's just a problem with sourcing my own hardware for this blaster, which hopefully if you have hardware from them, you don't have to do some of the guesstimating that I had to do. I think that's enough blabbering about. Let's take it out and fire it around, shall we? Now, as you guys saw, it did perform fairly well, standing about 30 feet back. My aim does not reflect on this blaster. I just have rather poor aim at times. And obviously it will also depend what shells you're using. Now obviously the half lengths and full lengths will be going the farthest. However, I probably won't be using these in this blaster very much. The birdshot shells, I really want to like them, but they can be inconsistent depending on what dart you're using, how worn the dart is. I've actually found that the more worn it is, actually a little bit better because it's not as tight on the inside of the shell. So if you can get a good selection of darts, you can actually get 4 half lengths in here and get an okay shot out of it. Which 4 half lengths, that's not bad. Obviously single Boomco, tested it because I had it. Similar to the single, I don't think I'll be using it as much just because if I'm using this pistol, I'm going to be using different shells. Now let's go down to the two that I will most likely be using in a blaster like this. The buckshot shells and the mega shells. These are going to be very useful in a blaster like this. I was actually surprised with how good of a range I was getting, even with the triple shot. I was having to angle a bit, but you can get some decent 30-35 foot shots out of 3 rival rounds. And obviously going down to 2 or 1 would be better. However, I wouldn't use less than 2 rival rounds just so I can actually get that nice shotgun effect. And obviously mega, for any specialties like Shield, Highlanders, Jedi, whatever your special class is that needs mega, this is incredibly useful. Overall, do I think this blaster is fun? Incredibly. Do I think it's practical? Also, yes. For when I run a Spring Thunder, I will probably have this on me because I already have the shells, and firing mega out of this is going to be easier than trying to fire it out of my Spring Thunder because I don't have to worry about cutting down the megas. And this would be a great one for when I want to top off my shells and I need a quick shot, top it off, throw it in, fire. But even if you don't have a Spring Thunder, I actually do think this is rather practical. It's a nice shotgun pistol that can also fire specialty ammo. And with it getting 30-35 feet with most of my shots, I do think it could be rather practical. I do think it won't be for everyone. You have to like the shell ejecting gimmick, which obviously I do, but not everyone will care for that. The big reason to use this would be the interchangeable ammo, being able to take it from those single shots, shotgun blasts, mega blasts. It's incredibly useful in situations where you find yourself needing different kinds of ammo. And any pistol round, I'll probably be running this just because it's so much fun to use. So overall, I do recommend it. And if you are interested in this, definitely check out his Etsy. Again, link in the description. And if you have more thoughts on the blaster, let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a like. And hey, if you want to see more from me, hit the subscribe button and hey, maybe the bell. Who knows? I don't know. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I've been Boomstick, and I'm out.